You can record the video now because this topic is very important. So allow to record. So you can start recording. Okay. So I am going to teach you parallel axis theorem and perpendicular axis theorem. After understanding these two theorems, you can find out Ixx, Iyy and Ixy for any beam. Mostly parallel axis theorem will be used if you want to find out Ixx, Iyy, Ixy. So let's understand what is the meaning of Ixx, Iyy and Ixy. Then we will learn how to find out how to apply parallel axis theorem. So before going to this, you should understand that we have two types of axis. Suppose you have any rectangular cross section and you have a beam like this, and it is going here and it is ending with some wall. So it is fixed in a wall. Now imagine this direction is x-axis, this direction as y-axis, and this direction as z-axis. You are going to apply load here. Means this plate will be loaded by some load. Suppose the total load you can consider as 10 Newton and the length of the beam you consider as 5 meter. So in some books, the same question they can give just by giving the this cross section. So they can give cross section like this, and they can show you that this is your x-axis and this is your y-axis. But in this 2D diagram, you can't show z-axis. So z-axis is along the length. So they will write in the sentence that z-axis is along the length. Our job is to understand Ixx. If you want to find Ixx, then your beam must bend about x-axis. So if beam is bending about x-axis, it means what? You have to apply load in such a way that beam should go down like this. Okay, next. Okay, so you are still be same. Yes, they will still be same because it is the cross-sectional property. See, you have asked very good question. Now see, if your beam is bending about this, it means this portion of the beam is going in outward direction and this portion of the beam is going in inward direction. Okay, so it is like, see from the lateral view, see this edge. So now you see these forces are coming out and these forces are going in. So if I draw this side, if I draw, I'm drawing this side. So some forces are coming out of the beam and some forces are going inside the beam. So they are making a kind of couple. Okay, so this is what the moment is being generated, that we say as mx. And why I am giving name mx? Because this thing is happening about x-axis. This kind of moment is being created about x-axis. Okay, now the question is whether Ixx will change if I apply load like this, or like this, or somewhere else. No, Ixx will not change. So how to find Ixx? So for that, now in same way, let me explain Iyy also. So if you have this cross section, this is your beam, and this is your x-axis and this is your y-axis. And if you apply load in such a way that your beam should bend about y-axis. So how to do? Either apply load on this edge like this, then your entire beam will bend like this, or you apply load on this edge, then your beam will bend like this. Anyway, in both the cases, your beam is trying to turn about y-axis. So my you have to find out, and Iy will come into picture. And one more thing, what is the role of Ixx and Iyy? Actually, Ixx and Iyy, they are more physically present in the nature. I mean, physically you can understand them more easily. See, Ixx is the inertia about x-axis. What kind of inertia it is? it will not allow you beam to bend easily in about x-axis. In same way, Iyy is also that inertia about y-axis. This will not allow you to bend the beam about y-axis easily. If you have very heavy Ixx, then it will be very difficult to bend the beam. If you have very high Iyy, then it will be very difficult to bend the beam about y-axis. We have very popular cross section, you see, I section. So I section, if I draw completely, it will be like this in 3D. So railway tracks are like this, right? So if you apply load here, because a train is going over this, so all the weight will be down only. So this beam should not bend easily, because if the beam will bend, buckle easily, then it will be a worst condition. So for that, what do? We design I section. Why we design I section? Because when the train will run over the beam, so what will happen? Beam will experience heavy, severe load. So it will try to bend like this. But if the beam will bend, then accident will happen. So we choose I cross section because I cross section has very high moment of inertia about this axis. Now I will explain why the moment of inertia is high about this axis. So moment of inertia is having its own ready-made formula, ready-made idea. That idea is I is equal to that distance, like you can say x square into dA. What is the meaning of this? Suppose you have anything and it is rotating about this axis. So how much area is rotating? That area you multiply with the distance. Which distance? This distance. So if you are considering this vertical axis as y-axis, then this will be y square. If you are considering this vertical axis as x-axis, then replace the name x. I mean, your area is revolving around which axis? This is the axis. So this axis, if you are considering as x, so you will take this distance. But this distance is lying on y-axis. I will repeat again. Suppose you have any rectangle, and this you are deciding as x-axis. This you are deciding as y-axis. And you want to rotate the rectangle like this. Like it should rotate like this. It should rotate like this. So if it is rotating like this, then this part of the area is rotating, correct? And this part of area is also rotating. About which? About this axis. So whatever moment of inertia will be there, that will be Ixx. But if you want to find Ixx, you have to use this formula, y square into area. Which y square and which area? Area of one side to find out moment of inertia of one side. But that is lying where? So the entire area will lie at one point. That point you consider here. So this line, this gap will give you this. Or the best way to find out this, I gave you the trick. Cut cube, right? You have only two dimensions. One dimension is x-axis, one dimension is x-axis, one dimension is y-axis. Divide by 12. Now you think which axis you are cutting. Means what? About which axis you are rotating? About x-axis I am rotating. So this x-axis is cutting which dimension? It is cutting y dimension. So cube the y. So x cube. Now see out. Now you can break this like this. This x is there na. This y cube you can write y. So this xy will give you area, and this y will give you y square. So y square area divided by 12. So this will be Ixx formula. In same way, you will be having Iyy formula, but that will be x square y, x square a. But this is the simplest form if you are dealing with the rectangular platform, rectangular cross section. But what kind of situation we are dealing? Suppose you have this rectangle. This rectangle you want to rotate about this axis. Then simple formula, first you decide axis system. So suppose this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis. Axis system done. Next you decide with respect to which axis beam is rotating or you want to rotate. So I am considering beam should rotate like this, means cross section should rotate like this. So once the rotation is clear, that about which axis it is rotating, then you go with this idea that either xy cube by 12 is the right answer or x cube y by 12 is the right answer. Then you check about which axis you are rotating the beam. So you are rotating the beam about x axis, but y axis is rotating. X axis is not rotating. It is there only. Y axis is rotating. So which axis is rotating, that axis you keep as cube. So in this diagram, your y axis itself is rotating, so that you keep as cube. Imagine you have any random shape. In this random shape, you considered this axis as A, this axis as B. Okay, make some dotted line like this. Okay, this is dotted line. And imagine this is like this. Now you see, now you understand. If the entire block will rotate about x-axis, sorry, I'm not using x and y now. Just to build up concept, I'm using A and B. So suppose the block is rotating about A axis. So either AB cube by 12 will be your right answer, or BA cube by 12 will be your right answer. And see, this 12, this is only applicable if your shape is rectangular. If your shape is something else, then formula will change. That's why for Z beam, we have separate formula. Okay. Okay. So now you understand very easy concept here. If you are using this formula, AB cube by 12, it means what? B axis is rotating about A axis. In this formula, A axis is rotating about B axis. Now see, let's link. You have rectangle. This rectangle is like this and like this. Suppose this is x-axis, this is y-axis, and here same x-axis and y-axis. Your rectangle is rotating like this. I mean, it is rotating like this. And in this case, your rectangle is rotating like this. I mean, like this. Now we have two formulas. One formula will be xy cube by 12. One formula will be x cube y by 12. Now, which formula will be correct for which diagram? This diagram is first, this formula is first. This diagram is second, this formula is second. This is first. So, give me the right answer. Which formula is correct for which diagram? xy cube for 1, x cube y for 2. Absolutely right. What kind of concept you have built up in your mind? Okay, y is rotating about x-axis, so you do y cube. You can also keep one more idea in mind. X-axis is stationary, that is not rotating. So here x is stationary. Here y-axis is not rotating, that is stationary. So here y is just y. Okay. So let's understand now parallel axis theorem. Suppose the same rectangle, you understand that when the same rectangle will rotate about x-axis, then you give the so if it is rotating about x-axis, then x will be constant, y will be cube divided by 12. Okay. But what if the same rectangle is not rotating about x-axis but any other axis which is parallel to x? It can be in the body or it can be out of the body. Means your body is not rotating about x-axis exactly. It is rotating about some other axis, but the condition is this other axis, either it is in the body or out of the body, it has to be parallel with the x-axis. So in that case, yes, Kul. Yes, Kul. Hello. Yes, cool. I can hear you. Hello. Hello. Yes, cool. Yeah, suddenly something happened. I don't know what happened. Okay, so see, I am trying to teach you two theorems. One is parallel axis theorem and one is perpendicular axis theorem. So first I am teaching you parallel axis theorem. In that case, if you have any rectangle and if that rectangle is having this as x-axis and this as y-axis, and we are considering that if that rectangle will rotate about its own axis, its own x-axis, and condition is this y-axis and this x-axis, they are passing through the center of mass of the this thing, or you can say centroid of the rectangle. They both are passing through the centroid. But so in that case, if you want to find out ixx, then you will write as x y 12. Now which one you will cube? Tell me. Y. Very good. So this is the condition when your axis is, when your particle is rotating about x-axis. But what if the particle is rotating about some other axis which is not this x, which is parallel to that x? Suppose this is the axis. So in that case, your particle will rotate like this. The entire thing will rotate like this. You know what kind of example I'm trying to set? In villages, we are using hand fan in summer. We will be having this kind of fan, and he will be having roller here. We will hold this roller and we will rotate the fan like this, right? Do you know this kind of fan? Have you seen? Okay, so you see what is happening. The same roller, this same roller, if you will put here, then it will be the axis which is passing through center of mass. But the same roller we are removing from there and we are putting here. So what is happening? This is being which kind of roller? Which kind of axis? Axis which is parallel to this. So whenever you have axis parallel to that, very easy concept. One more small concept. You see this here. You break this y cube as y. So this x and this y multiply, it will be area, and remaining 2y will be y square. So ay square by 12. Ay square by 12. And next thing is, what about this axis? Only one smartness you have to do. This time you consider as capital X. This time your I-axis will be your previous answer, that is ay square by 12 plus extra thing. What is extra thing? Whatever gap is there, that gap into the area. I mean that gap, it's square into the area. It means what? Area will be there again, but with the gap. Suppose this gap is r, or you say gap is g, or you write the gap, whatever you want to write. So you write the gap is square. Okay, that's all. This is called parallel axis theorem. Did you understand? Exactly clear? Okay, now see, if you have any rectangle and if that rectangle wants to rotate about this axis, I am saying as y-axis, and this as x-axis, but I want to rotate about x-axis, then sorry, I am rotating about y-axis, then I y will come into picture, because moment of inertia about y-axis means the body will try to stop the rotation about y-axis. That is the meaning of inertia about y-axis. Now next, x y by 12. Now which one you will cube? X, because x is rotating, y is not rotating. The entire x will rotate like this with the plane. Y will not rotate, y will be here only. So that's why I am keeping y here only. Next, if you want to apply parallel axis theorem, then it will be some unknown other axis that will be parallel to the y-axis. So suppose that axis is this axis I am considering. So your entire body will rotate about this axis. Means This is rectangle, this is y axis, and this is some unknown axis, but it is considered y dash or parallel to y dash, so parallel to y. So this gap is important. Now suppose this gap, I'm simply writing the gap. The area of everything, we know that a, and this length I'm considering as x. So I y will be x cube into y by 12. This you can also write as, break this x as x, this x and this y will give you area, and remaining x will be x square by 12. So this became the pure answer when the body is rotating about only y axis, but in our situation body is rotating about the parallel axis, so you have to add one extra term. So now your new I y about y dash axis will be, this is ready-made answer, ax square by 12 plus the extra term. What is the extra term? Area is here, so area will be here also. Here is square, so you have to square the gap. Gap is square, that's all. Don't put 12 again, no. Clear? Cool. How to apply parallel axis theorem? Okay, done. So parallel axis theorem is clear. Now let's understand how to do this thing, perpendicular axis theorem. So perpendicular axis theorem. Perpendicular axis theorem is helpful to find out polar moment of inertia. What is the meaning? Imagine you have a rectangular plate kept in air like this, horizontally placed in air. It will be having two axis system. One is y and another one is x. So suppose this is x. So definitely x will lie on the plane itself. So this is x and this is y. You can see that sorry, y will not lie like this. Y will also be in plane like this. X will also be in plane like this, x axis and y axis. If your body will rotate about x axis, then we say moment of inertia Ixx, and we will use the formula x y cube by 12, because x is not rotating, so x y cube by 12. And if the body will rotate like this, then we use the formula I y is equal to yx cube by 12. But what if the body is rotating about this vertical axis, which is perpendicular to both axes, and more importantly, all the three axes is passing through the center of mass. All the three axes are passing through center of mass. In that case, what to do? Your body wants to rotate like this. So consider this as z-axis. So now you're looking for Iz. Any symbol you can use. So if you want to find out Iz value, directly add this answer and this answer. That will be your Iz value. Means you can write like this, ay square by 12. This you can write as ax square by 12. So take a common, and by 12 also you can take common. So a x square plus y square by 12. This will be, now see, why do we say this as perpendicular axis theorem? Because this red color z axis is perpendicular to x also and perpendicular to y also. And what is the beauty here? All the three axes are passing through center of mass. Okay? Cool. Is it being difficult? Okay. Now see, how will you crack one question if I will give you one axis like this, which is parallel to z axis and staying at a distance of d? How will you crack this question? I want to rotate my entire plate about this axis. Means what? The entire plate will rotate about this axis. It will again come like this, like this, like this, like this, entire plate. Then I want to find out moment of inertia. Suppose this axis is some unknown axis L. So I want to find out ILL. So see, first of all, you understand that this L axis is parallel to Z axis. So parallel axis theorem you have to apply. Means you should already know the answer of Iz. So answer of Iz is here. So a x square plus y square by 12, and then extra part you have to add because of the gap. So for that, a d square. That's all, over. So when you are adding x-axis moment of inertia and y-axis moment of inertia, you are getting z moment of inertia, and this much work is known as perpendicular axis theorem. But when you are adding this extra gap, then that becomes parallel axis theorem. Is that okay? Okay. Now, suppose you have any object like this, and this object has centroid here. No, don't take that kind of object. You take this kind of object, like this, some parallelogram type object, and this is having area here, and suppose the total area is acting here. Suppose this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis, and this area is lying at y1 distance, suppose that is 2, and this distance, x1 distance, suppose that is 3, and the total area of the rectangle that is acting at this point as A is equal to, suppose, 5 meters square. So now, if you want to find out the third one, I am saying now, IXY. The IXY now I am teaching. So if you want to calculate IXY, then very, very simple, x into y into area. See, in case of IXX, we had y square into A, that is nothing but y into A. When we were solving IYY, that time we had x into A, that is nothing but x square. Now see, we have y here, we have xx here, but when we are solving IXY here, then you put, for this x we had y here, for this y we had x here. So for this x you write y here, for this y you write x here into A. So this becomes your formula, XYA. Okay, so substitute x1 y1, this value here, this value here, and this value here, you can get IXY values. Okay, so in case of Z beam, IXX you can find out by using that formula what I gave to you, bigger formula. IYY also you can find out, and IXY I will derive in a separate notebook, and that direct answer I will give to you. I didn't search in my notebook that direct answer. Okay, once these moment of inertias are known, and you see in one more point, you see, when we are calculating the moment of inertia, that time we are not bothering about from which angle force is acting, from which angle what is acting, moment, torque, nothing. We are bothering nothing. We are only bothering about the dimensions and the location of axis. We are not bothering anything else. So moment of inertias are free from external forces and moments. So from whatever angle force is acting does not matter. Moment of inertia will not change. IXX, IYY, IXY will not change. Okay, so this part over. Now in your, I have to teach you one idea. That was your next topic. Suppose you have a rectangular beam. Imagine in 3D, this is your beam, and you are applying load here. So this is your top surface. You are applying load here. Then your beam will bend. So what will happen? Your beam will experience that this upper layer is going out in this direction, and this bottom layer is going in this direction. So this is, here the length is increasing and here the length is decreasing. Means you can say tensile stress is being developed here, compressive stress is being developed here. So this tensile and compressive stress we give symbol as sigma. So sigma tensile and sigma compressive, they both are acting here. So that sigma usually we found out by load by area. But you can understand that this load which is experienced this direction and in this direction, they are making a couple like this. So we remove our force and we convert that into a couple. How do we find out the couple? Load into distance, that we say as moment. So for that only we use equation of flexural equation. Flexural equation. What is that? Now you understand what is this. You see, this F is known as sigma. So this sigma I am writing as F. This sigma is that direct stress, that is called bending stress. And here we have M, that is moment. This is moment of inertia. This is Y, this is E, this is R. Everything I will explain what are they. Imagine this is the beam and they are going in this direction. This is the lengthwise. Consider this as y-axis and this as x-axis, and here outside you have z-axis, means length of the beam is on z-axis. So moment, and you understand this formula. This is called flexural formula. And how this is helpful? See the trick. In some books you will find F here, in some books you will find sigma here. So trick is, may I face you extra round. May I face you extra round. Or if you are using F here for the direct stress, then you use face here. If you are using sigma here, then you write like this. May I show you, show means sigma, show you extra round. Okay, so this formula you can remember. This is flexural formula. So whenever we apply bending moment M on any beam, two types of stresses will develop in that beam. One stress will be sigma and one stress will be tau. Means what? After applying bending moment, even shear stress develops. So that shear stress is because of bending. So see, you have direct stress. I'm trying to say that you have normal stress. Normal stress can be tensile in nature or it can be compressive in nature. Other than this, you have another stress that is called shear stress. So for this we use sigma, for this also we use sigma, sigma tensile, sigma compressive, and shear stress we use tau. All these three stresses can be developed by using direct forces or by using moment also. So when we do the chapter bending moment, in that chapter, for this sigma we have separate formula which comes under flexural formula. May I show you extra round. So we have three terms here and mostly we use these two terms to find out sigma. And this y will be the y coordinate, I mean length on the y coordinate. And I will be, now you try to imagine in which direction beam is bending, then in which direction I you will take. So if you are applying bending moment, then you will be using sigma formula. So that is flexural formula. But if you are using the tau, if you are finding out tau because of bending, then you have different formula. So that tau we use as, now see, this trick how to remember. P means the load which is producing shear stress. A means area and this y is actually y bar. I will explain everything. I is moment of inertia, B is the width. So trick to remember this. Pay, P-A-Y, pay. Pay means pay me money. Pay, Indian Bank. This is the trick. Or Ireland Bank, whatever. You are from Ireland, so Ireland Bank. So this trick you can remember. So let's solve. Let's understand the physical feel of this. So tau is equal to P-A-Y bar by I-B. I'm using P for the load. Suppose you have a beam here. and this beam you are keeping on any support. This is your support and this is your support, and here you are applying a load exactly in between. So what will happen, this beam may cut from this direction, from this cross section, it may break. So if you will see this cross section separately, so see this cross section separately, this is the half beam I am drawing. So you will experience a force here downward, that is shear force, and at the top your shear force will be zero, because shear force will not act at the top, right? Shear force acts between two plates. So at the top, this is the last plate, we don't have any other plate over this. So at the top shear force will be zero, in the middle shear force will be maximum, and again at the bottom, I mean here you have zero shear force, shear stress, here you have zero shear stress, and in the middle of the beam you have maximum shear stress. So that shear stress maximum, how will you understand? Which formula? This formula. Now let's understand the physical feel of this formula. So see, whatever load you have applied, that load is P. P is clear. Now what is Y bar? So see, this axis will be neutral axis. Why? Because this side will increase in length and this side will decrease in length. In between you will be having one axis, that is neutral axis. Length will neither decrease nor increase. So that neutral axis system I am drawing here. This line is nothing but this line. So see, over the neutral axis, whatever area is available, that area is A. Next, we go for Y bar. Where is the Y bar? Location of the area is Y bar. Location of the area. Where is the area located? The complete area is located where? At which point? Now see, exactly, actually see, I have missed something. Let me do it again. I have missed something. What I have missed, I will tell you. So main thing is, in different layers, shear stress will develop. At the top layer, shear stress will be zero. At the bottom layer also, shear stress will be zero. But at any other layer, you will be having shear stress. So suppose you want to find out shear stress for this layer. So area above that layer, you have to calculate. That area is this area. Earlier I said this, the entire area is that area. No, that is wrong. Exactly area over that black line is your area, means this much total area. Let me draw here. In this red color part I am drawing here, and this is the beam, and here is the neutral axis, and we are trying to find out in this fiber how much shear stress is developed. So first thing, how much load is applied, that load is clear. Now area means which fiber we are talking. We are in the green color, this fiber we are talking, blue color. So this above the fiber, whatever is the area available, that area is this area. So here don't be confused. After that, what is the location of the area? So you find out distance from the neutral axis, that is your Y bar. And why I am writing Y bar? Because mostly we consider this is Y axis. So that's why that length I am saying as Y bar. And now I. Now try to imagine, vertically we are saying Y axis, and horizontally we are saying X axis. Lengthwise we are saying Z axis. So when you will apply the load, then beam will, this part will turn like this part will turn like this. It means what? They are turning about X axis. Because they are turning about X axis, so this I is what? This I is IXX or IYY. This is IXX. So when you are finding out IXX, you will be using which formula? You will be using X Y cube by 12, because X axis is not moving. The rotation is happening about X axis. Y axis is moving. Okay, anyway, there is a trick to find out IXX. So this I is IXX. Now what is this B here? B is this width. how width the beam is. That's all. And you can find out tau in any fiber. So shear stress over. Cool, is that okay? Okay.